In yesterday's story, Jesus had told his disciples, let's go to the other side of the sea. And of course, in the middle of the sea, there was a storm and Jesus calmed it. But by the time we get to Mark 5:1, Jesus has made it to that side of the sea. And you would think there'd be a huge crowd of people excited, just excited to be able to meet Jesus. But there's only one guy, and we'll talk about that in our reading here. But once the crowd does come, you'll see why Jesus only spent so much time on this side of the sea. So it says, then they came to the other side of the sea, to the country of the Gadarenes. And when he had come out of the boat, immediately there met him out of the tombs a man with an unclean spirit, who had his dwelling amongst the tombs. No one could bind him, not even with chains, because he had often been bound with shackles and chains, and the chains had been pulled apart by him, and the shackles broken into pieces. Neither could anyone tame him. And always night and day he was in the mountains and in the tombs, crying out and cutting himself with stones. And when he saw Jesus from afar, he ran and worshipped him. And he cried out with a loud voice, saying, what have I to do with you, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? I implore you, by God, that you do not torment me. For he said to him, come out of the man, unclean spirit. And then he asked him, what is your name? And he answered, saying, my name is Legion, for we are many. Also, he begged him earnestly that he would not send them out of the country. Now a large herd of swine was feeding there near the mountains. And so all the demons begged him, saying, send us to the swine, that we may enter them. And at once Jesus gave them permission. Then the unclean spirits went out and entered the swine, and there were about 2,000. And the herd ran violently down the steep place into the sea, and drowned in the sea. And so when Jesus arrives, there's this man who's living like a madman. He's like a monster. He's running around naked. He's in tombs in the mountains, crying out and cutting himself. I mean, the people of the area had tried to tame him and try to bind him, but they couldn't because he pulled apart the chains and shattered the shackles. It's probably because he has a lot of demons in him, possibly around 2,000 demons, like the number of swine. But I don't know about you, but if I saw somebody living that way, I'd be pretty freaked out. That'd be pretty scary. But notice this man comes to Jesus, and he's begging him not to torment him. He says, don't send me out of the country. Don't send me back to hell. Even the demons don't want to go to hell. They said, send me into the swine instead. So Jesus agrees to that. And I don't know why Jesus would agree to anything, except then I see that the swine run off the mountain cliff and they go into the water and they drown, which probably sends the demons to the one place they didn't want to go. And so Jesus kind of outsmarts the demons here. But notice how the townspeople respond. So those who fed the swine fled, and they told it in the city and the country, and they went out to see what it was that had happened. And they came to Jesus and saw the one who had been demon-possessed and had the legion, sitting and clothed in his right mind. And they were afraid. And those who saw it told them how it happened to him who had been demon-possessed and about the swine. And then they begged to plead with him to depart from the region. And when he got into the boat, he who had been demon-possessed begged him that he might be with him. However, Jesus did not permit him and said to him, go home to your friends and tell them what great things the Lord had done for you, and how he had compassion upon you. And he departed and began to proclaim in Decapolis all that Jesus had done for him, and all marveled. And so those who had fed the swine, they went into the city and they told everybody about what had happened. And so the people of the city came out to see what took place. And when they saw everything that had happened, they saw this man who had been demon-possessed, sitting there in his right mind, clothed. They saw the swine gone. You would think that they would be begging Jesus to stay because they'd be excited about what Jesus could do. But instead, they begged him to leave. You know, Jesus knew when he wasn't wanted, and so he left. But this man who had been demon-possessed, you can only imagine, having lived that lifestyle, having done those things. And then here comes this man who sets you free. The only safe place that you'd be able to find is with him. So he begged him that he might depart with him. There had been a lot of people who Jesus asked to follow him who said no. But here's this man who's begging him to follow him, and Jesus says no. He says, I can't go into this country to preach because they don't want me. But you go there, you tell everything that I've done. You tell them about the compassion I had on you. You evangelize, and that's exactly what this man does, and people are marveling. You know, as a Christian, I can't help but to think about the life that I was living before I came to Christ. Before Christ set me free, I was living in a life of sin and the things that Christ has done for me since. I shouldn't be able to help but to want to go tell people about what he's done for me in my life and what he can do for them in their life too. I hope that's something that you can kind of take with you today. This story ought to be something that we can think about and meditate on throughout our day.